It's time to start your life the way it is meant to be. There's only one time when it will be too late, and you don't want to wait for that. This is Now or Never. The choice is yours. Your host is Karen Wright. Today, you're about to meet some amazing people. The stories are not always happy ones, but they define a healing process. Listen with an open mind and an open heart. Now, here is Karen Wright.
Welcome, listeners, to my show. I appreciate you being here in the present, being now, as we begin this episode of Overcoming Challenges to Your Next Success. And we're privileged to have Mark Steele with us today. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Karen. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I am so excited. All my guests every week, I'm like, oh my gosh, they were so good. And everyone's just fantastic, and just having you with me and sharing your time, because I know how valuable time is. And I really do appreciate this. And I know my listeners do too, every single week. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. Today's show is about success can feel like an elusive term that only works for a select few. Today's guest, Mark, thrives off making an impact in the lives of others, so that they are empowered to take on their next success. Listen to us as we begin, and we talk with entrepreneur, author, and sales expert, Mark Steele. He'll inspire and empower you on your journey to success. So, Mark, thank you again for being here. And listeners, it's always a privilege being with you also every Wednesday. And I appreciate you taking the time and turning us on and listening to us. And hopefully every week you're gaining something or learning something new, because this is what it's about, helping each other grow and learn in ways that maybe we didn't think we could. As we begin this show, listeners, you know the drill. I invite all of you just to take a moment, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath in, and releasing. Just allowing yourself to sit for a moment. Take another deep breath in and release. And now wrap your arms up, your hands up around your shoulder like you're giving yourself a big hug. And take another deep breath in and release. And repeating 3 times, I am worthy of my love. I am worthy of my love. I am worthy of my love. Take another deep breath in and release. And now tapping 3 times on your chest, repeating the word accept. Accept, accept, accept. One more deep breath in, and make sure this breath of life goes all the way down to your lower abdominals. Follow it through your cells, your blood, all the way down to your toes. And release. I hope this, just for this moment, helped you feel grounded and ready to be in the present as we begin our show. The affirmation for today, I was explaining to Mark, I never look at it until I share it with him as a guest. And I always invite our guests to share with us, Mark, whatever comes to your mind, what you can share with the listeners, always listening with your heart, following with your heart as we go into the segment. So the affirmation says, I am ready. I am ready. What was the first thing that came to your mind, Mark? I am ready.
When I think of being ready, I think about being open to whatever happens in my life. For me, a big affirmation for me that's very similar is I am responsible. And for me, that means that I am ready to respond whatever comes my way. And sometimes that may be a challenge. Sometimes it's an incredible opportunity or a gift of abundance. And I'll always be ready and responsible to be able to handle whatever comes my way.
Thank you for sharing with us. Listeners, I am ready. What does that mean for you? Does it help you, like with Mark's other affirmation, I am responsible. I am ready for response. I'm ready to be responsible. What is it in there for you? I am ready. So write that on your mirror, put it on your sticky note so you see it. And I really like this affirmation today because it goes, I believe, hand in hand with what our theme is about success and the next step. I am ready to become successful. I am ready for the next step in life that might lead to success of some sort. And so this is a pretty cool affirmation. I like this one. It's so good. Mark, I'm going to introduce you now. You've got a great bio. And so I want my listeners to see the empowerment and the impactment of this man that's in front of us today. Mark Still is a keynote and 2-time TEDx speaker, sales consultant, podcast host, and the author of international bestseller, Invincible Success, Sell with Confidence, Lead with Purpose, and Speak with Impact. In his 15-year career at Microsoft, Mark stood out as a high-impact sales leader, delivering over $1 billion in sales. He worked with the world's top organizations while spearheading acclaimed training programs for seasonal sales professionals. Today, Mark delivers powerful virtual and in-person programs to sales teams, leaders, and Fortune 100 I can't say the word.
Fortune
Executives.
executives. Yeah. Yes. I was trying to think of in my bio what it was.
Executive.
Fantastic.
Oh, listeners. Oh, I am ready for this. Let me tell you what.
I am ready.
My tongue was all twisted up. I can't say it. Oh my goodness. So anyway, his work has been featured in major media outlets like NBC, CBS, Fox, Thrive Global, and more. So Mark, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Karen. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I get tie-tongue a lot, so just go with the flow. I need that one.
Then I'll be in good company.
Oh, so I love reading the bios out loud to people. Your bio is so strong. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about your book, Invincible Success. And in your book, you share 6 principles, key principles. Would you share like the 6 key principles and then how you develop those principles with everyone? I'm going straight for the juggler right now. I'm like,
yeah, it goes right for the good stuff. Yeah.
I am. I saw that. I'm like, I'm going here first.
And happy to share. So the book was developed based on my career. Early on in my sales career, I struggled mightily. In fact, I share the story that I almost got fired after my first year on the job. And so I developed a repeatable process to help me prepare for every customer interaction. And I actually carry that forward to now anytime I'm meeting with anyone, regardless of whether they're a customer or just somebody that a peer or a colleague or you or listeners that I want to connect with. And for me, the 6 key principles are, first one is around building intentional connection, around making that conversation about them, thinking about how you can best serve the person that you are communicating with. Second one is about being trustful, about building trust. And that is really around being authentic, being responsible. If somebody needs something, take responsibility to step up and be available. Third is around having a bold vision too often we'll kind of enter in a conversation. Somebody will ask for help and we'll say, yeah, sure, I can help you. I could probably help with that. And I really encourage people to think boldly, to really believe in their skills and experiences to be able to present a bold vision. And then the final three is really around how you present your solution. So fourth one is tellingly speak with impact. So it's all around powerful communications that move people to take action. Number five is tell great stories. So storytelling is so important in both business and personal communications. And then finally, it's all around belief, believing in yourself and your ability to serve the people that you're communicating with. So those are the 6 key principles.
And so I want to dive a little bit, about you almost got fired. You said that. I'm like, okay, I like it when people are honest and forthright, because during times where we're struggling the most, that's our growth. And because of this, where you almost got fired type thing, it stimulated you to put together a book, to come up with processes or steps that help you achieve what you needed to do, and then sharing it with other people. So how old were you when all of this was happening?
So this was in my early 30s when I did not have a sales background. I got an opportunity to work at Microsoft. I was hired essentially to speak to large crowds about the products, but that job went away very quickly, as often changes in large organizations. And suddenly I was thrust into a sales role where I was meeting routinely with executives of large organizations. And I was completely a fish out of water, no sales background, not even much of a technology background. And I went into those conversations initially thinking that they were about me. They were about my products and the services, the products that we sold. And I literally one time had an executive stand up about 10 minutes into our conversation and say, "This is a waste of my time," and walk out of the room.
Oh my goodness.
No further explanation whatsoever. And that was in my first year in this sales role. And it didn't get any better. I finished that first year about 57% of my sales quota. And so I was way behind and very much in danger of not being able to continue my job. And fortunately, there was a few very successful peers that I was able to connect to and get insights from. And it wasn't until I reached out to one. He said, "Stop trying to be good at sales, be good at serving your customer." And that's what really profoundly, I'm sure many of your listeners are like, duh. But back then for me, it was a new concept. I thought communication was about me. I thought about what I have to say and what products I have to talk about. And really communication and success is really about being able to communicate in a way that makes the person you're talking to, helps them understand that this conversation is about them. And that's really where those principles started to fall in place for me.
I was going to ask you if you had a mentor, and you answered that question for me, that you had a couple. And I was always taught by my ex. He's a very smart businessman and great in sales, and he could sell you that shirt off your back for twice as much as what you paid for it. He was so good. But I remember him saying, don't reinvent the wheel. Talk to those people who have success in business and their companies have grown, and find out what their secrets are. Because most people want to share what they've gone through.
Yeah, without question, I would have not survived after that first year if not for a couple very very skilled, very accomplished mentors that kind of took me under their wing and really helped me understand that what role I had as a salesperson is really around understanding the customer's needs and being able to align our products or our technologies to their needs, or be honest with them when they didn't align, because they were much more likely to do business with us in the future if we're always honest and genuine and they're only focused on what they need.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very powerful too, as in sales, like what you were doing there is getting to know your customer, getting to know them as a person, a human. Find out their loves, find out what they like and don't like, and just kind of like what we did earlier today. It's like you're a hiker, you like the mountains, you like to rock climb, you like to do this stuff. And I find that interesting that sales has a lot to do. I think most careers are about building that relationship with your customer, the vendor, whoever, and seeing what they like and just doing the extra touches. I'm sure you figured that out pretty quick, right?
Yeah, it pretty quick, relatively speaking. Once after I got it, I was so excited about it because I found that so much easier to just have genuine conversations with people, focused on them. It took all the pressure off of me. It really was around me understanding their needs. And the really interesting thing is today, that's more important than ever. As we certainly as organizations have gone through all the changes and challenges that we've all gone through over the past 18 months or so, and how communication has changed from primarily in person to this blended virtual, that focus on around communication and relationship building and being genuinely interested in the people that you're across the camera from is more important than ever, and actually gives us an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, it has. There's been some pros for all of this with the COVID. And I love the fact that you see the pros in it and how it has opened up with communication and relationships and building and being there. It's taken it to maybe a next level, one that we never would have experienced without this worldwide thing that happened to everybody. We're getting ready to go into a break, but I want to know, Mark, how long did it take you to write your book?
The actual writing of the book probably took a little over a year. I got inspired for the idea. I knew that I had wanted to write a book. When I started it, I didn't know exactly where it was going. And I wrote pretty consistently for about 3 months, took a little break to do one of the TEDx's that you talked about. And then when I came back to it, I kind of finished it in a flash of about 4 or 5 months. So, but over the course of a total little over a year, it took me to write it.
And that's amazing. And we're so glad you did. I mean, I want to get this book now. I'm like going, I want to learn all this little tricks and trades of the connection, the trust, the bold vision, the speaking, the tell great stories, believing in yourself. So listeners, we'll be right back after this break, more with Mark Steele, and we're going to dig a little deeper about his TEDx talks and what they're about. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
All right, awesome job. All clear. Back in a couple minutes.
Okay, thanks. Good job, Mark. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How long? So you were with Microsoft for 15 years. And then
Yes.
what was your next step?
I actually left Microsoft in 2017 to start my own business as a speaker and a sales consultant. So now kind of take the premises of the book, and that's the foundation for the programs that I now work with sales teams and leaders of traditionally mid to large size organizations to help them kind of own the room, that time that they're in the room with their customers, make the most of it. Most importantly, move their customers to take action.
Okay, good. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
Right.
I heard it on Facebook, but I want to hear, the listeners need to hear it too if they're not on Facebook with us, Facebook Live. So this will be good. So you started going to that, you wrote the book, you left Microsoft, started your own company. And then, so you were also a podcast host. Do you still do that?
I do. Yeah. Very similar to you. Yep. I do. I actually are now kind of doing two podcasts, one a short form, about 10-minute conversations, and then a longer one that is usually 30 to 45. So there's the Invincible Success podcast is the longer form. And then I do a short form called the Sales Growth Showcase. And those are 10-minute interviews with sales leaders.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love this. I love conversation. So, so that's great.
All right, 15 seconds.
Okay, thank you. 15 seconds, we're going back on.
All right.
America Empowerment Channel, voiceamericaempowerment.com.
You are listening to Now or Never. The choice is yours. To connect with the program today, please call us at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is Karen@shinenowornever.com. Let's get back to this week's show. Here again is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome back. I hope you have, if you just joined us, we've been speaking with Mark Steele, who is a keynote two-time TEDx speaker, has written a book, Invincible Success. And before break, we were going into his 6 steps, which was connection, trust and building, bold vision, speak with an impact, tell great stories, and believe in yourself. Did I do those?
Yeah, you nailed all 6. That's great.
I wrote them down. This is, you see me every now and then looking over, is because I'm making my notes because it's really important. Then I can look at them later. Anyway, he's amazing at what he does. And he left Microsoft. He was with Microsoft for 15 years. And then after he left Microsoft, he started his own company. And so I would love, Mark, I would love you to share with the listeners your company, what you do, and then maybe a little bit about your TED speaker talks. And you've done 2 of them. And you also are a podcast host and what those are about. So that's like about 3 questions right in the midst of all that. Did you get all that?
I think so.
Are you taking your notes? You should be taking notes when I'm talking.
I am. I'll see if I wrote it down right. So first one is, yes, in 2017, I left Microsoft to focus on my own business. It's called Peak Potential Solutions. And it's really an opportunity that's my keynote speaking, primarily to sales teams and leadership teams, as well as training programs that I deliver to mid and large size organizations, really around helping them be powerful communicators, most specifically a sales team or a leader. When you're speaking in front of an audience, we want to make sure that your message is resonating, it's engaging, and moving people to take action. And that's whatever that action may be, whether it's to buy something or to charge ahead and on behalf of the organization. And so that's what my day job is now, having an incredible time with that, and feel very fortunate with the success that's coming from that. As far as the TEDx, was the TEDx next? The 2 TEDx's? Yeah. So did have an opportunity to do 2 TEDx's. The first one was in 2018, shortly after I left the organization here in the Chicago area. And that's called Achieving Big Goal big goals using small steps. And it's really around micro goals. And that's actually part of Invincible Principle number 6, which is belief is around setting goals and accomplishing them. But it started with telling the story of how I actually had a near-death experience where I was in the emergency room and almost lost my life. But in the recovery process of that, I made a goal to be healthier, to exercise more, of which I had never done my entire life. And just by having small goals, not just I want to have this great big exercise regimen, I just said, well, in the morning, I'm going to drink a glass of water because I know I heard water is good for me. And that was my first successful accomplishment after about 2 months of just drinking a glass of water in the morning. I said, well, you're up, you're here, you did that. So why don't you do some sit-ups? And from there, it actually grew to a full workout in the most mornings. I rock climb, as you shared, and I'm much more active than I've ever been in my life. So that's what the first TEDx, and the second one was just this past January. I was privileged to do a TEDx with my 20-year-old daughter about our legacy, the legacy that we're all leaving behind as humans, our legacy of waste, focus on what we can do to be more mindful of the waste that we create and how we can cut down on that waste in our homes. And so that was very near and dear to my heart as well. She's been fighting environmental causes for quite some time. So I was very fortunate to do that with her.
That's amazing. So I know we're going to stop because there's more of the podcast stuff too, but you just triggered some thoughts for me. Your near-death experience, do you mind sharing kind of that part with our listeners? However you feel is good for you, but kind of opening up and what you experienced during that time.
I'm happy to share. I'll edit it a little for those that may be a little squeamish at home. But I had a routine surgery a week prior, and this was in 2010. I had a routine surgery, but because I wasn't taking the best care of myself. I wasn't too bad, but my eating was not good. I never exercised. Partly because of that, partly because of an undiagnosed health challenge that I had, a bleeding disorder. About 1 week afterwards, I actually started bleeding externally, and it wouldn't stop. So the surgery had been internal, and I started bleeding a lot externally. Was rushed to the emergency room, and they couldn't stop it. And I actually lost a great deal of blood, and 2 transfusions, and they were very concerned that things were not going to go well at all. So much so that I was saying goodbye to my wife, who was there, and fortunately, they finally got me into surgery. They were able to go back in and fix the problem. And it took me almost 2 months to the fact where I could even kind of get going again and start moving. And so from that, I vowed that I was going to take much better care of myself. But I didn't know how. I mean, that's a big goal. So I didn't know how to do it. So I started very, very small, and only the success of that little thing just started to build more and more onto that.
Well, and I think it's really important that our listeners understand that little goals. I mean, you can have your main goal, getting in shape or, losing weight, whatever it is, but it just is the little things that will help you move forward each day. And I love the fact that you said you drank a glass of water for 2 months until you're like, okay, now I'm ready to move on. And I think that's important, that the goals will be reached, but you can take your time doing it. It doesn't have to be in a certain amount of time. you do what feels comfortable with you during that time, whatever it looks like for an individual. And I appreciate you, doing that and setting that goal and being able to talk about, sharing your experience, near death experience and what happens. And life is so precious. I mean, we had my dear friend passed away on Sunday, and he was on my show in June. And he was Mark Parker, and he was diagnosed and had liver conditions and cancer and everything. They did everything they could. And he finally passed away on Sunday. And his attitude with life and his affirmations and being positive. And Mark, you have that same aura around you. Like, you can just tell you love life. You're here to help people, you be of service. And I appreciate you stepping forward and being the man you are. So thank you. I don't know where that came from, but I just felt like it needed to come forward. So I appreciate that. And I love that your daughters with them, save the world, save the planet, go green, like all of that is so important right now. And that could be a whole different topic. And we need her on the show with me.
All right.
Right?
Yeah. That would be a wonderful conversation.
Yes, I would love that, because I think there's so much that people want to do, but don't know what to do. And I find that in a lot of areas in life, they want to help, but they don't know how to. And if they're just given 2 things to do, or a handful of things, or go to the site, read this, whatever it is, I think people are more apt to step up to the plate, because we all love this world. We want to leave a legacy for our kids and our grandkids, like you said. So tell me a little bit about your podcast now.
So the podcasts started after I left Microsoft. I just love having conversations much like this, and finding new ways to be able to impact others and serve others. And so I started the Invincible Success podcast, where most of the episodes are really around interviewing people like yourself that and trying to find what you do to be successful in your own life, and be able to share some of those practices with us, and understanding some of the challenges that you went through, so that we can all learn from them. Mm-hmm. And then I was having such a great time with that. Those are longer form, that I started a second one that is actually focused specifically on sales and helping you grow your sales and your connection with your customers. That's called the Sales Growth Showcase. And both of them can be found on your favorite podcasting app, as well as my YouTube channel. I post the videos from them there.
Oh, perfect. And then after break, when we come back, well, we're not going to break right now. False alarm, but when we come back from our second break, at that time, I want you to share with our listeners how they can get a hold of you and all of that. So be ready for that. Mark's like, okay, we're going to another break. I got this down. She told me to be ready for this.
She got me trained.
You were easily trained. I like that. That was good. You have a question here that I found was kind of interesting that I'm going to ask you. More and more business conversations are happening virtually, like we talked about earlier. And there are key mistakes that people are making. What are these virtual conversations? What's going on there? Key mistakes you see people make when having virtual conversations.
The key mistakes. So, of course, a year ago, virtual conversations were happening, but a year and a half ago, they exploded in growth. We all got forced to have virtual conversations. Mm-hmm. And so one key mistake that I still see the clients that I work with, the sales teams that I work with, is an easy one to identify. It's a hard one for people to fix. And that's that they tend to not look at the camera when doing a virtual conversation. You'll see more often than not, they'll have their head turned to the side or looking down at the screen, so that they're looking at the image of the person that they're talking to. And imagine if you were in the room with the person and you weren't making any eye contact with them whatsoever. You were looking off to the side or down at the floor or anywhere except their eyes. And that person would question, what do you not have any confidence? Do you are you not being honest with me? Whatever it may be. And that's somewhat even subconsciously what they're thinking if you're spending all of your time looking at the video image instead of at the camera. And so one quick, easy way of fixing that is to print out a picture or something that resonates with you. Even a smiley face on a sticky note will be something, but print out a picture of a loved one and stick it right by the camera. And then secondly, just have a conversation with that person that you care about, with that person you want to get to know or you want to tell a story to. And that's a quick and easy yet powerfully effective way of being able to make sure that you're connecting virtually just as well as you would if you were in the room with the person.
So can you tell, was I making the mistake?
You were doing it. I actually spend most of my time looking at the camera. I see you off to the side. You're actually doing a fantastic job. Yeah.
Because it's like I have all this stuff up on my computer screen,
Yeah.
And so then I look at, like, I don't look at the camera. I look at you when I'm talking to you.
Yeah. I encourage you to especially when you're asking a question, because that's when you're trying to draw the person in. And remember, your viewers your listeners are the camera, and so you want to make eye contact with them as much as possible. So
I love that. You guys, we're learning something new about virtual Zoom calls and how to address ourselves looking at the camera, that green dot. Right?
Yeah,
That's
the green dot.
The green dot. I was always wondering what that was. No, I'm just joking. I knew what it was. Oh my heck. And I was not doing it correctly. So I'm going to take advice and do like a little, like you said, put up a smiley face or a picture of my loved one so I can be like talking to them. So I think that's
a very quick story. When I first started a year and a half ago, I actually had a very important presentation for a client, and I wanted to make sure that I kept doing this. I wasn't as practiced as I am now. And so I literally did print out a picture of my wife, and I cut a hole in the picture's forehead and put it over the camera so that I could look my wife in the eyes and just have a conversation with her. And I knew, so it's a great tip. One way or the other, try to make sure that you're always getting your eyes to that camera as much as possible.
I love that. Listeners, do that. And then like email me or get on my website and tell me if it works or not. I guarantee you it will. Mark knows all these little tricks. He's done this for a while. Not his first rodeo. Listeners, we're getting ready to go into our next break. And when we come back, we'll have more from Mark and his impact on business and what he's done with his TEDx talks, his books. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
All right, good segment. All clear. Back in about 2.
Okay, thank you. That's so good to know. Like, seriously.
It's again, it seems so straightforward and so simple. Sometimes I even feel silly saying it, and yet every time I do, inevitably people are like, "Oh yeah, that's right, I know."
Oh my heck. I know. So when you're looking at the camera, but then I don't feel like I'm looking at you, and I want to look at you.
You are. So look at the camera. Say, yes, you are looking at me. When you look at the camera, you are looking at me. And I feel, the audience feels such a difference. It's a difference between connection and almost connection. And I mean, people understand. I don't want you to like second guess everything you've been doing over the last 18 months. So people get it. They understand. But to really kind of level up your virtual valuable experience. That's one thing to really think about, and a skill to practice at, is making sure that the conversation is to the camera.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's a skill I'm going to start practicing now. I just got to figure out my screens, where to put everything, so I'm not like.
It can be a challenge. I do have a couple of screens as well, and I try to glance over real quick to make sure I'm still in frame, you're still there. So
Yeah.
it just takes some practice. Yeah.
Just setting it up.
Yeah.
And then do you
It-
use the camera, a separate one, or one on the computer screen?
I have a separate one, and then I actually have monitors with both on arms that I can put right on both sides. So I try to get the monitors right at eye level, so it can, like, I just glanced at one, you're over at the other one. So notes are over here, the Zoom window's over there. So it's just quick glances as opposed to spending all the time looking down at something.
Yeah, that's good to know. Look at what I'm learning today. So much. I love that every day. I'm always learning something.
I'm happy to help with anything. If you have any other questions about I'm a geek when it comes to tech setup, so I'm happy to help.
All right, sorry to jump in here, but we are coming back.
Okay, thank you.
You are listening to Now or Never. The choice is yours. To connect with the program today, please call us at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is Karen@shinenowornever.com. Let's get back to this week's show. Here again is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome back. We have been speaking with Mark Steele, who is a keynote speaker, TEDx speaker, sales consultant, podcast host, and has written a wonderful book, Invincible Success. And we've been talking a little bit about this book, about his TEDx shows, about the podcast. And I would love you, Mark, at this time to share with our listeners how they can get a hold of you, how they can find your book, where they can find your book, and your courses, because you do courses and stuff online, right? Or not? Did I just make that up?
You did, but it's a wonderful suggestion.
You're welcome.
So the best way to get a hold of me, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So following me on LinkedIn or connecting with me on LinkedIn, Mark Steele, the company name, just Mark Steele Invincible Success, or just Mark Steele, you'll be able to find me. My website is marksteele.com. No E on the end. People often will throw an E on there. So marksteele.com, and as well as YouTube channel. Again, Mark Steele Invincible Success is the best way to find me on YouTube. That's where all of my content goes. The two podcasts are there now as well. And then last but not least, the book is on Amazon in both Kindle form as well as soft and hardcover. Audio will be coming soon, but if you do Amazon books, Invincible Success, you'll track it down there.
Yes, listeners, reach out and get his book. I love the fact you're doing Audible, because I'm putting my book right now on Audible. I'm in the process of doing it. And so I am so excited to hear it, because I listen to books when I'm traveling all the time. Yeah. And not so much just sit down and read, which I probably should do more of, but I love it when you can just put them on and you can listen.
Yeah,
So,
I love audiobooks as well.
Yeah. Are you going to be the reader? Or...
Yes. Yeah. It's been a lifelong goal of mine too. It's to not just write the book, but then also be able to do the audio.
Good for you.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I decided not to. I'm going to hire a professional voice, but I'm just going to do the like the thank yous and, tributes, things like that in my voice. So anyway, it'll be kind of cool. I'm excited for you. So, in your podcast, you ask others about overcoming challenges on their way to success. So let me turn this on you. Is there a challenge that stands out to you that you had to overcome?
Many. There certainly is one, and it's really the kind of where Invincible Success came from. And that stems from, for actually many years. I told about when I started Microsoft, my first year, I did not do well. But for quite a few years, probably 5 or 6 years during that time, I really struggled with imposter syndrome. I felt because I didn't have a sales background and proper pedigree that I had no business being in such an important environment, talking to important people. And I was sure every day that I was going to get fired for many years. And it wasn't until I really started to use affirmations, just like you do at the top of your show, and take the time to write down the wonderful things about myself that I bring to conversations with people, the impact that I enjoy having, and really took the time to be very intentional and remind myself of those things, that I started to believe in the gifts that I have to share with the world. And that's now I carry that forward, that I believe that we all have gifts to share with the world. Mm-hmm. And it's when you combine that gift with purpose, a proven purpose, as well as relentless determination, that you become invincible, that you truly can overcome any situation. Doesn't mean you're not going to get knocked down. You're just never going to get knocked out. And so that's where invincible came from, is based on my own challenges and being able to come up with the belief system and the processes to overcome them.
I love what you just said. We're going to get knocked down, but we just don't want to be knocked out.
Yeah, to have that. Again, it comes back to that responsibility, that ability to respond no matter what comes your way. It won't always be easy. You won't always know the way through, but as long as you remind yourself you can respond, you will respond, then that's how you become invincible. That's how you work your way through.
Yeah. I think that's really important. And we all, no matter what, I mean, my whole radio show started with now or never, the choice is yours. It's your choice. You get the choice to decide how you want to live your life and create your life. And to me, it's about creating your life. And with it, living in the now, we all have our past. We all have our ups, the roller coasters, ups and down that we're going through, and we continue to. But it's how long are we down in the ruts? How long do we allow ourselves to stay? We're knocked down, but we're not knocked out yet. And then how can we start taking the baby steps like we talked about earlier, taking the baby steps and crawling your way out of that hole? And how long can you stay up? And that's the beauty of life, right? To me, it's like a golf game. You got good hits. You've got where you're short on your putter. You're like, I'm almost in there, but I missed it. But you keep going back, or whatever you love to do, until you just feel like you're one with yourself. And I think that's really important. And you hit that on the head today. And I appreciate that when you said that. So thank you for sharing so much. I want to ask you another thing with your TEDx talk. And maybe we need your daughter on this one, but I'm kind of excited about the environmental thing. I'm kind of going that way again. Are there certain things that you could just have our listeners, like kind of like the 6 steps that you shouted out about your book, but things that listeners could do now with helping saving the planet? And I know we probably all know the basics or whatever, but I think it's good for us to hear them again. And if you have some ideas that you could share, I know I'm totally putting you on the spot for this one, so my apologies. I sometimes do that to my guests and they were like, Karen, I'm like, I'm so sorry. But I ask questions that I want to know.
Happy to share. I'm still continuing to learn myself. That's actually part of what the TED Talk was about with her, is how she's had to kind of drag me along and encourage me. And because every time I'm like, well, that's really inconvenient. And then she encourages me to do it. And I find out it's actually not that inconvenient the way that I thought. But a couple really quick things. Hopefully folks know to bring recycled or reusable bags every time you go to the grocery store. That's an easy thing. But even beyond the bag that you're going to put your groceries in is actually not using the plastic produce bags. And that was a big thing for me, because if we're going to get loose potatoes or tomatoes or bananas or something like that, we're used to putting those in a bag. And they actually, of course, they have just mesh bags, reusable bags that you can put your produce in, either all together or individual bags, and carry those up and have them be weighed as well. So easy things like that. Yeah. Another big one was taking your own containers when you go out to eat, so that when you have leftovers, you put them in your containers, your plasticware, and you're not using styrofoam or plastic containers from takeout. That's a big one, because we're all eating out so much nowadays. So that's a really big one.
Oh, both of those are really good. I knew the first one, but not the mesh bags about our vegetables and fruits. So that one was new. And then the containers. Bring your own containers for leftovers. Okay,
it's such an easy thing to do.
Right. I love those. Thank you for sharing, Mark. I appreciate that, because those are simple things we all can do. I want to ask you a question about your TEDx speaking. Again, how did you get involved with that? How, did you have to try out for it? How does that happen?
Every TEDx is a little bit different. They usually, they do a call for speakers. And so I was fortunate. I had been looking to do a TEDx for a few years. And I saw a call for speakers for one of the TEDx's. If listeners don't know, TEDx's all around the world. They're locally organized. Most often they'll have their own website or a Facebook group or something like that. So if it is something you aspire to do, I would just go to TEDx.com, look for, they have a map of TEDx's in your state or around the world. And then go to whatever website or group that they're a part of and find out when their event is, and if they're calling for speakers, be willing to travel, to a nearby state or something like that, if it's something you really want to do. But the great news is that you don't have to have a speech in order to do a TEDx. They'll help you craft the speech. All you need is that idea worth spreading. So have an idea that you're really passionate about. This is an idea that I have, and that's all you'll need. You don't need the speech until you're done, until the day it's time to go. So.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing. I think that's really cool. Before we close today, Mark, I would love you to share something like a highlight that my listeners could take away and remember you by, or Mark Steele said this, and this just really stuck with me. What would that be? How would you impact my listeners today?
I think it goes back to what I was sharing about I truly believe that each and every one of us has a gift. That has a gift that we're here to share with others. And I really encourage everyone to believe in the gift that they have, and then to be able to go forward thinking about how you can share that, how you can best share that. Again, maybe your unique experiences, your voice, things that have happened to you in your life. There's ways for you to share that now, whether it's through communities online or in person, a part of community organizations, or maybe even get up and talk about it in front of the world, or in person or virtually. But to take that gift and believe in that gift, and then set about sharing that gift with others in the most powerful way possible.
That's very empowering. And I'm with you. My truth is the same, that we each have a gift and we each are unique and authentic, and it's finding what makes us glow, what makes us shine, what makes us, just feel that energy inside of us, and then taking it out and being of service to others and helping each other. And I think that's so important in this world. So I really appreciate you sharing with us today, Mark, and for being on the show. It has been truly inspirational for me and giving me more insight about things and how success people can be all over. I mean, you went from doing, working in a corporate to doing something you love with your entrepreneurship and the invincible success and helping people as you go. So thank you so much. Listeners,
Thank you,
remember
Karen.
our mantra for today: I am ready. What does that look like for you? I am ready. You get to create and decide what that means for you. The breath is a gift of life. Choose now and live. Remember, this world is not for sissies. We are here to experience our own story as we each walk our personal journeys. Have an amazing day, and thank you for choosing to be here now. Until next week, sending you all love and light.
All right, great job. They good show. All clear.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Mark. That was good.
Thank you.
That was
You're
so much
very
fun.
good at this.
You. I'm learning, every show I'm learning, and I appreciate your feedback and your little trick about looking at the camera. So
Would you be willing to be a guest on my Invincible Success show? I would love to have you.
to. Yes,
All right.
I would love to. And I would love, seriously, your daughter and you to be on the show too, talking about keeping the earth green, tricks and trades and what we could do. I think that would be really empowering.
I would love to do that. Her name is Cassidy, and she's she's made me very proud with what she's been doing, and so I know that she would be thrilled to have the opportunity to speak with you as well.
I would love that. Yeah, so let's email each other so we know dates and things, and we can set it up, because I would love to be on your show and vice versa, have Cassidy on. And if you know any other people that you could recommend on my show, I would love that. My show's all over the board. We talk about everything.
I was going to say, is there a particular perfect guest type that you're looking for? Or?
No, this show has just been really interesting because I've just allowed, people being vulnerable and wanting to share their stories, just like you talked a little bit about your near-death experience. And I know I kind of put you on the spot with that, but I love listening to that, because to me, there's that connection when listeners hear that we're human and that we have our hard times and things happen to all of us. Mm-hmm. But being able to take what's happened to it and rise above, and how you did that. And, you're struggling with sales and how you were able to, find the mentor who gave you suggestions, and you being vulnerable and asking for help. And, I think, to me, my guests have been all over the board, from authors to coaches to entrepreneurs to, I've had a couple near-death experience people on, people dying of cancer. I mean, just kind of all over the board.
Well, I will definitely
love it.
I will definitely be on the lookout and keep you in mind as I think about my network. I run in circles of a lot of speakers and coaches and consultants and things like that, and so I'll be more than happy to broker introductions.
Okay, that would be great. I look forward to it. And thanks for sharing your whole, everything that you did today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. This was a lot of fun. You have a fantastic energy, and it made it so much very comfortable for me. So I certainly shared more than I anticipated, but that's not a bad thing. So this was a great conversation.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's keep in touch, and we will, You're going to be back on my show with your daughter here soon.
That would be a lot of fun, and I'll follow up an email, and we'll get you scheduled on the Invincible Success Show as well.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Mark.
All right, take care, Karen.
Okay.
It's great talking to you.
Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.